pictures for all of these, okay? Some of us, whenever we get to a word problem, we're kind of scared to draw a picture, okay? And you're not going to be able to do these without drawing a picture, okay? His angle of elevation of his eyesight. So he's looking up at the lighthouse. You got to make a right triangle out of it. Okay. His angle of elevation is 58 degrees. Okay. If Casey is 6 feet tall, which we'll get to that here in a minute, how far is he from the base of the lighthouse? Okay. So the reason why they have to throw that in, okay, is from his eyesight to the top of the lighthouse, is it 84 feet? No, what is it? Why is it 78? Yeah, you got to take that 84 feet minus how tall he is to get that part of the triangle right there. Okay, so you might have to think about that portion of it a little bit. Okay, what ratio am I going to use? Use tangent because I'm half opposite. I'm looking for adjacent. Tangent of 58 equals 78 over x. Yep. So am I multiplying or dividing? Dividing. Got to take 78 divided by the tangent of 58. And how far is he from the base? 48 point what? 7 feet. How far is he standing? Okay, so number 2, okay, we've got a kicker. He's got a football on his foot right there. Okay, so goalposts. Kick a field goal out of the jar. Okay, so my angle of elevation, the goalpost, is what? 17 degrees. How far is he from the base of the goalpost? 131 feet. So, where does that go? On the bottom, yeah? 131 feet. And then it says, how tall is the goalpost? So what are we looking for? The opposite side, yep. We want how tall it is. So what am I using? Tangent again. So tangent of 17 equals x. And 131. So now what am I doing? Multiplying or dividing? Multiplying 131 times the tangent of 17. 40 what? Is 40? Is 40 even? So 40.1. Okay. 40.1 what? Feet. Always label your answers. Alright, so we've got Leah's mom standing at the bottom of the slide. So we've got, we're going to pretend that, oh, that is good. I think I went in the wrong direction for this. Alright, Leah's mom, she's standing at the bottom of the slide, waiting for her to slide down, so she's looking up at her. What's my angle of elevation? 46 degrees. It says the slide has a vertical height of 46 degrees. Vertical height. So what is that? From top to bottom, not the hypotenuse, but from top to bottom, the vertical height, because vertical is up and down, is 9 feet. And they want the length of the slide. The length of the slide is going to be my hypotenuse. So x. So we are going to use sine of 46 equals opposite over hypotenuse. So multiply or divide? Divide 9 divided by sine of 46. My slide is 12.5 feet. How are we doing so far? So far, so good? Yeah. All right, so we've got a tree. I have a kitty sitting in the tree. I have a puppy at the bottom of the tree. Angle of elevation. The dog looking at the cat is what? Ooh, we don't know. All right. It says the cat climbed 16 feet up in the tree. Where does that go? On the opposite, right? He climbed up 16 feet. The dog's 5 feet from the base. Where's that? On the bottom. Okay, we're looking for the angle of elevation. So we're looking for this guy. So we're using tangent of x, we don't know, equals 16 over 5. So now if I'm looking for an angle, I use tangent inverse 16 over 5. About 72.6 degrees. We're looking for an angle. All right, angle of depression is a little bit more complicated than angle of elevation. Okay, and this is why. When they are talking about the angle of depression, they're not talking about the angle of my triangle. Okay, they're talking about this angle outside of it. Okay. So every time I'm given the angle of depression, can I find this angle? Yeah, what would I have to do to find it? Yeah, I gotta take 90 minus my angle of depression to get that. Okay? So in number 5, and I'm gonna use the picture because apparently they're better artists than me here. Okay? So the lifeguard sitting on the platform looking down at the swimmer in the water. If a lifeguard's line of sight is 8 feet above the ground, where would 8 feet go? Well, okay, so time out. It says line of sight. Oh, yeah, so that's the hypotenuse. Yep, and it's even labeled for you. The line of sight, the hypotenuse is 8 feet. Okay, it says the angle of depression is 18 degrees. Okay, so my angle of depression is right here. Okay, so to fill out my triangle, what do I have to do? What did we just say? To get that angle, I gotta take 90 minus 18 to get this angle right here. And I get 72. So that's a 72 degree angle. So now I've got this triangle. My hypotenuse is 8. This angle right here is 72. And they want to know how far away is the swimmer from the lifeguard. What is that? The bottom, right? So this is my swimmer over here. This is my lifeguard. To get to the lifeguard, the swimmer would have to go that distance right there. Okay. So how am I going to do this? Sine of what? 72 72. So be careful with that. It's not sine of 18. It's sine of 72 equals x over 8. So multiply or divide? Multiply 8 times the sine of 72. X is what? 7.6. Okay, so I've got a helicopter, spots a landing pad below. So I've got a helicopter. It does. I think that's what a helicopter looks like. That's bad. Spots a landing pad below. So my landing pad's down here. Here's my triangle, right? Okay, the angle of depression is 73 degrees. So if you remember, if I draw a line out there, my 73 degrees goes right there. So the angle in my triangle is what? What? 17 degrees. I gotta take 90 minus 73 to get that triangle right there. It says the horizontal distance to the pad is 1,200 feet. Horizontal distance, what would that be, bottom? The bottom, because horizontal is a straight line straight across. So 1,200 feet. And they want the altitude of the helicopter. How do I measure altitude? No. It's going to be, yeah, because it's how high something is. So that would be a straight line from the helicopter to the ground. It's going to be what I'm looking for if I'm looking for the altitude. Okay, so what am I going to use? Tangent of 17. There you go. Equals x. So divide it out. How high is my helicopter? Oh, 39.25. Even? Okay, so even. And that's going to be in Alright, so now we've got two buildings. I've got building A, is 480. I've got building B is 654. Alright, so from the top of B to the top of A, my angle of depression is what? 42 degrees. So is that the angle of my triangle? No. What is the angle in my triangle? 48. Okay. Now, what is this distance right here? What's this distance? Yep, you gotta take your 654 minus 480. Alright, so this guy's 174. And they want to know how far apart the buildings are. So that's this guy right here. How far apart are they? So tangent of 48 is going to be x over 174. So multiply or divide? Multiply. X is my Alexis is going to exercise with fingers. Nobody else is doing anything right now. It's been one of the reasons why we struggled through our assignments is we don't participate when we're taking notes. Okay, so Zach's at the top of the lookout tower, so lookout tower's here, Zach's in here, spots a water fountain below. I was going to say, that's pretty good. Angle of depression is 28 degrees. Okay, so remember that's 28 there. What's this? 62. My building's 75 feet tall, so that's this guy, right? And we're looking for a horizontal distance between Zach and the water fountain. Bottom or hypotenuse? Bottom, because that's a horizontal line. Okay, my hypotenuse is a diagonal line. Okay, so horizontal distance is always going to be the bottom. Okay, so I'm using tangent again of 62 equals over 75. Multiplied out, x is 0.1. What? Okay, so it's interpreting it a little bit and figuring out what they're looking for. Be careful with your angles of depression. Okay, very careful with your angles of depression. We have 28 and 29.